An alcoholic's daily commute. I used to travel 33 miles door to door from my home in Epping to central London. When I was drinking heavily, the stress of the daily commute would take over my life. So I used to, when I was a light social drinker, be fine on the underground, be fine walking to the tube station, be fine generally. When I was drinking too much and getting myself stressed because of the drink, I'll just take you through a typical day. Just imagine 10 a.m, 6 p.m. type thing. So I'd leave the house about 8 o'clock. Probably with a bad head, nothing to eat or drink. And walk down to the underground station full of impending doom, sick of my life. So I had too much to drink that week. Maybe I've been on holiday and come back into the system, you know what it is, back to the grind, all this kind. Just start sweating. Epping Station's overground. And wouldn't be that busy there really, but there's still a few people out going. It's the end of the central line. And I'd get on, sit down, and then we'd rattle on to Leytonstone, where it goes underground. I start sweating there, get myself anxious, to start feeling ill, feeling sick. Then when I go to work, get off Oxford Circus, feel really dizzy. Walk up the steps and be labouring up the steps, really tired, and I don't want to go to work, this sort of thing. As you get there and crack on. As time went on, I got more and more fearful of travelling on the underground. And I've got these thoughts of, well, what happens when people fall over on the platform, you know, and fall into the train, and gets packed, and I used to get nervous, and I used to get anxious about the trains. Especially underground at the time, there's quite a lot of terrorist activity in London. I used to hear the other trains, you know, the tunnels would go whoosh by, and I was so worried about these sort of things, which is not normal, you know. I've got no anxiety now. And then we get to the overground bit, and I thought, I feel a bit better. And I managed to get a drink somewhere, and it settled me down. I thought it settled me down. And as time went on, I couldn't get on the train. Instead of an hour's commute, or an hour and a half, it used to take me 3 hours. So I used to get on the train for the overground bit and then get a bus from Leyton to Leytonstone into the West End, which would take ages. And I'd change a bus to take ages, and I still feel rough, I still feel nauseous, I still feel drained. And then eventually I'd get off a bus somewhere and then walk down to work, and it got worse and worse and worse. I couldn't drive in because I used to feel, well, we had an underground car park, private car park. I used to feel so nervous about driving. I would never drink and drive. Well, drunk and drove, as it were. But I still felt as if I couldn't drive. I used to get stuck in traffic. I used to feel really panicky, as I did on the trains and on the bus even. The bus was a bit better because it was over the overground. I could see things, you know. Claustrophobia on the trains was a nightmare. So when I drove in, I used to be sat, just like hold the wheel so tightly and sweat, and I was always looking around myself, very nervous looking. Think, what's going to happen? What happens if I can't get off this motorway? There's nowhere to pull in, you know. You can't get in the hard shore, you can't get off the M11. I was stuck. And I used to think, God, what's going to happen to me? And these thoughts of impending doom, and I used to get very frightened of travelling. So the daily commute to me became an absolute nightmare's torture. I'd never slept properly, see, really, for years with this in my head. The only time I thought I had a good sleep was when I was days off, or had some time off, and I could have a few drinks, and what I thought was relax. So it really became a problem. And everything becomes a problem when you're drinking. And just the slightest little journey was a nightmare to me. And eventually I retired from that and came back up to the northeast, and I was off the drink for a while. Then I was driving, I was going out to London again, I was on the underground again, I was on the trains, I was flying all over the place. And I was fine. Because the alcohol used to push up my anxiety to very dangerous levels where I had some crazy thoughts. And the doctors used to say, oh, you should stop worrying as much and this, that, and the other, and just cut down. And I couldn't just cut down on the drink. I had to stop. And a couple of times I got diazepam to stop. But what I'm trying to say is here, every little thing will become more difficult when you drink. Even a simple thing like going to work, to commute. There's no working from home for the job I did. So every journey became a nightmare. It wasn't a normal thing for me. I had to plan everything meticulously. And it really does eat into your time, eats into your life. So my life was just taken up with worry and stress and anxiety and depression and feeling ill, being sick and not eating and drinking too much to try and compensate for that, and self-medicating really. And you really have to dig deep with this alcohol problem you've got, because it's not easy to stop drinking alcohol. And a lot of people can't stop, although they want to. They haven't got the bottle. And I say that with the greatest respect for people. Because it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's the hardest thing, people tell me every day, it's the hardest thing they've ever done as well, to stop. To stay off it as well, because there are so many reasons to drink. People think there are, because there's social events, because it's sunny, because it's cold, it's winter, because it's Christmas, because it's New Year. There's always an event, isn't it? And it's so easy to get into it, socially acceptable to drink, that most people really struggle to keep off it. They might be off a day, they might be off a week, a month, a year. 8 years I was off. Something comes along in life, changes your mind a little bit, you think you've got control of it again, but you haven't. And all that's going to happen is your life will just go down so fast. And you'll be back to square one. And the kindling effect of stopping and starting drinking and relapse can be very, very serious, because every time you're off the drink and you go back on it again, it creates all sorts of mess in your brain. And then you may be prone to seizures and hallucinations, DTs and all this sort of thing, which is very, very serious. So you're starting to have a little bit of anxiety when you're travelling, a little bit of anxiety generally at work, or even when you're in a social situation. Give me a shout. Get in touch with somebody, because I did it alone. It was very hard. It took me to the point where I was told by a doctor, if I drank again I'd die, to actually stop and stay off it. I've got no reason to go back on it. I've got no cravings to go back on it. I know for a fact that if I have one, that'll be the end of me. And when you get to that point, you've got to wise up a bit. Wise up a lot. And it isn't easy to stop drinking for life. It isn't easy to stop drinking for one day if you're an alcoholic, because the power of addiction makes people go back on it. It makes people go back on it when they've had a liver transplant. That's how strong it is. A large number of people who've been off for years or had transplants or operations, all the sort of thing, to get their liver back to normal, will relapse and they'll very, very quickly pass away, because the body can't take the handling of all this poison. And not many addicted people will last after 50, 55 really. That's about the average age of death for alcohol-related disease. It's not just liver disease, it's kidney disease, it's strokes, it's heart attacks. And that's the thing you've got to look out for, you see. There has to be a balance in life. And with an alcoholic, the only way you're going to get balance is to stop and keep off it. If you need any help, give me a shout. If you benefit from the videos, then please subscribe and share them. I've got an ebook out as well, which is a sort of handy guide really. If you think about, I might fancy a drink, don't do it. The ebook will bring you back, and it'll think, wow, you think that guy's really talking some sense here. Because I'm talking sense. I'm an alcoholic. I've been through everything there is to go through, virtually, and I'm here to help. So get in touch. Speak soon.